I used to dread Sundays because I would inevitably spend that afternoon and evening hunched over my desk, grading another stack of essays and typing out lesson plans. Talk to any teacher about how they feel about their career, and it won't take long before the topic of teacher burnout comes up. Set a timer. I'm guessing it takes under 5 minutes. I taught English as a second language for 13 years in higher education before I pivoted to instructional design about 6 years ago. I now host a monthly virtual networking session between instructional designers and current teachers who are hoping to transition into a new career. You'd be surprised how many of them say they just want a job where they can pee whenever they feel like it. In these networking sessions, teachers everywhere from all walks share similar stories. The job was a lot, life happened, and I just couldn't anymore. My own personal story of burnout looked like this. It was 2018. I had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I was teaching 18 credit hours and taking courses for a graduate certificate that ultimately parachuted me out of the madness of teaching this much whilst having young children. My ex-husband and I were woken up for the 3rd night in a row by our wailing 1-year-old. Toddler diarrhea had struck again, and he was covered, from his head to the toes of his footed PJs. As I peeled the poop suit from my son's flailing body, I estimated how much cleanup and comforting would follow. I saw the hands of the clocks spinning ahead. It would be a full hour before he was back in his crib. In 3 hours, I would need to get the preschooler up and ready for the day. And in just 5 hours from that moment, I would need to be awake and in front of 15 international students, teaching the meaning of the present perfect tense. If I called in, there were no substitutes for me. It just meant that my boss would sit in my class, do something unrelated to what I was teaching, and then my students would be behind in an already too rigorous curriculum. Although I loved teaching, not grading, no one loves grading, I knew I needed a career where I had both flexibility and time to breathe. And for me, that career turned out to be instructional design. I don't miss this dilemma of wondering how to shove my overstuffed life into the overhead compartment that the life of a teacher grants you. Into this prescribed box, in this time frame, in these grading periods, everything must fit. Learn faster! Don't get behind. Eliminate anything extra. Like kids. Who has time for kids when there's so much grading? I don't miss all the juggling, at all. And all the lesson planning, curriculum revision, textbook selection, professional development, continuing education units, certificates, presentations, the constant preparing 4 things at once, managing what's crisping in front of you and what's outright burning on the back burner. I do what's called project management now. How's that different? I'll tell you. It involves more people than just you. Sometimes the other people who are working with you don't finish what they need to. And what happens then? The deadline moves. I kid, I know. I still treat deadlines like they're critical, even if not everyone else does. But I can't tell you how comforting it is to know that I can tell my boss that my load is too heavy, and my boss won't tell me, well, this load is industry standard. So I teachered for a long time, as long as I could, and I don't regret that time. Strike that. I do regret the last 2 years. Those were insane. But there were so many years when it was a perfect fit for me. True teachers will tell you that they are certain that they learn more from their students than their students learn from them. And that is true for me. If I could summarize what I learned from those 13 years in a few short lines, I'd say this: be curious, be empathetic, and always assume that everyone is doing their best. I've had more than my fair share of moments when I realized that I was the culturally insensitive one. Grant everyone the grace that you want them to extend to you. Life is funny, because these are the same bits of advice I should have given to myself when I was suffering from teacher burnout. Ah, the sound of children laughing. A joyous sound.
Can we have this issue before where you tried to do 10 pounds?
It'll be okay.